Yeah, it's traumatic to try and talk about an experience that potentially involves 25 to 30 years of, I wouldn't say bad habits, but habits that you inherit because of ignorance or maybe the society that you grew up in, and you just grow up thinking, okay, this is the way you should eat, this is what you should do. And I try to sit all week trying to talk about my weight loss and put that in writing. It was actually traumatic, which meant that I actually had been through a lot. And I want to share those experiences with you, but it was just too hard to come to a point to write all of this down. And I think for me personally, it's about the transformation. The transformation is about the experience that I think a lot of folks in this world would go through. And you get tons of companies out there that create sort of this this pyramid marketing scheme around diets. You all know that, right? It's a quick fix and involves lots of money, and people promote this because they want to make money and earn commission. But then, you try all of these diets over a period of time, try and maintain them, and then you realize, they have a product for just about everything. They might even develop a chocolate that replaces sleep. So, and then before you know it, you're spending, thousands of dollars each month with this pyramid scheme. But then what they do very, very intelligently is that they attack you emotionally because they know people are vulnerable. And it's a major concern. People have lost their confidence. When you go out to the workplace, folks that suffer with obesity or just people generally that are overweight, may have financial constrictions and may not be able to afford these type of diets. And once you try it, you cannot maintain it. And then when you don't maintain it, the results become devastating because then your body goes into this position of shock and you end up getting done 20 times worse. And I've been through this experience, moved to this country in 2011, work in a very complex field of technology that takes a lot out of me. And when I got to this country, all four of my grandparents are diabetic. My dad in 2012 had all veins on both his legs constrict. And as a result, in 2013, underwent 7 operations, lost both his legs in 2014. And being the only son, a lot of responsibility fell on me. A growing business, carrying the weight of practically the entire company, and trying to live your American dream. But then between 2014 and 2016, I did 21 trips back and forth to South Africa. And in that period, I would work the opposite time zone whilst taking care of my dad, and then not sleep, work the US time zone, sleep for just 2 or 3 hours, and then in the South African time zone, go back to the hospital, or on the days that my dad would be home, stay up all night and change his diapers just so my mom could rest. I did that for a period of 3.5 years. And in 10 years of moving to this country, I've never taken a single day's leave. I've never taken vacation. But was it worth it? Absolutely. In life, you got to give back to your parents. But then it was the greatest lesson for me, or greatest lesson in life for me, because do I ever want to put my children through that? Do I ever want to be in a position to not take care of my health, to lose my legs? So basically, I could take something that's traumatic and turn that into something positive. So, but little did I realize that the impact of the stress during that period, it actually caught up with me. I was never like that, by the way. All of that happened in a period of just a year. So my dad passed on in 2016, and then in 2017, a major company that I supported had a fallout with Google. So the responsibility of this business and the technology and the demand in cybersecurity impacted greatly. Supporting the key channels, I carried the responsibility of fronting these channels for everything around encryption that could have affected the entire world. And life just hit me, and all of a sudden my metabolism was done, and I just put on weight. I went up to 247 pounds between 2017 and 2018. So from maintaining an average of 190 to 200 pounds, I shot up to 247 pounds. Got to a point, like the gentleman before mentioned, he couldn't tie his lace. I was in Dallas, and before I could fly back to Chicago, I was in the car and attempted to tie my lace, and that was a defining moment. I broke into tears. I couldn't tie my lace. And my business partner sat out there. He saw exactly what had transpired. He felt bad. Sleeping in the nights, I would wake up because I would choke. I couldn't sleep because, a broad neck, all the different attributes of leading a unhealthy lifestyle. And this was just not me. And in that period, I tried all of these products, spent money on energy shots. Yeah, take this energy shot. It's meant to, do X, Y, Z. And each time you take a double shot, then your body raises its resistance level, and then you just keep doing it, and then you travel to different time zones. It was insane. I'd never forget going to South Africa, getting my dad out of hospital, and because I had a work emergency that I had to fly into Dallas, and I had to tell him that I'm, practically lied to him that I'll be back in a few weeks, and then had a 36-hour journey, arrived in Dallas, drove to Oklahoma City, trained the engineers at Dell, got back to Dallas, flew back to Chicago within 3 days, got to Chicago, got a message that my mom had a mild heart attack and she's in hospital. So within a week, I had to fly 72 hours to get back home. So that was the impact on my life, and I'm not alone. So many individuals out there face this in so many other ways, whether it's taking care of a family, taking care of children. Everything around life has a lot of demand. And then I realized, how do you cope? How do you get this better? Or what do you do? Can you continue to spend X amount of money on all these products? How do I go back to eating natural food? What do I do to eat natural food and be healthy and basically recondition my life? And in 2014, I'd seen Dr. Carson's husband. And by the way, the easiest thing for me to do in this entire conversation this week, when I tried to figure out how to write my speech, was to actually thank Dr. Carson. That was the easiest thing because she changed my life forever. So I want to say thank you to Dr. Indra Carson. So I decided in March, prior to a work trip to Germany, to go and get my blood results done at Dr. Carson's offices, and then wanted to meet her. And I don't think you know this, Dr. Carson, but I cut my trip short in Germany because when I heard my blood results were back, as opposed to flying back on the weekend, I flew back on the Thursday just so I could be at your office on the Friday. And when I got to the office, what sort of lines do we have here? You get like the blue line, the red line, all of that, right, in Chicago. All my results were red. So that was like the red line that takes you the quickest and fastest to St. Peter, right? So, yeah, so I was this time bomb waiting to explode. My triglycerides were 497. I was the perfect, I was this close to going to heaven or hell, wherever you're supposed to be. And it was totally red. Everything was red. My insulin was 29. 29. And Dr. Carson sat me down, and she said to me, she spoke in this foreign language, English, around the medical terminologies. By the way, English is my first language. Both India and my mother country were colonized by the British, so I'm just kidding. But Dr. Carson explained, she took the time to explain every activity around insulin resistance and what it does and how it affects your body. And no matter what you do, if you don't address your insulin, you're never going to lose weight, no matter how much you exercise, no matter what you do. And she broke it down so perfectly and then said, this is what we need to do. So basically, talking to a qualified doctor, combining that with the vision of keto, was actually the ticket for my success. Dr. Carson mentioned to me, and being a vegetarian, by the way, a giveaway, I was a vegetarian for that period of time. She mentioned to me that, going on a meat diet would change a lot of things, but dieting is important for your soul. So she spoke to me very compassionately. She just didn't want me to make an overnight change because, hey, would you be able to eat meat being a vegetarian, coming from a very cultured background, the way you guys, where we come from? And I just got to a point, and I kept reflecting St. Peter, and I was like, you know what, you're going to want me to eat meat because I don't want to see him, okay? So I decided to go back to eating meat, but when I decided to go back to eating meat, I decided I will eat every single animal. I'll just not discriminate that the chicken was less holier than the steak, you know? So I did it passionately because I really wanted to enjoy it, because I told myself if I'm going to go on a diet, it has to become a way of life. So if I'm eating something, I want to enjoy it. I want to be part of it. I want to make it a way of life. And I know we have a few minutes, but Dr. Carson asked me to cut out carbs completely for the next 6 weeks. She laid out the amount of protein that I need to eat based on my body weight. And she mentioned to me that no drinking for the first 2 weeks, because I want the medication and things that I do to settle into your body. And that's when you look at your doctor and you smile and say like, wow, she cares about you. But behind your mind, you're thinking like, damn bollocks, right? So, I think we all go through that. And but yes, I listened to her for 2 weeks because socially, I enjoyed my single malt, a glass of wine. 2 weeks, the medication had set in. And what was interesting is that after repeating the bloods in 6 weeks, I reversed my triglycerides by just going from just completely shifting to a fatty diet with protein versus no carbs. But then, as in life, I want to share this experience with everyone that 20 or 30 years of bad habits would not disappear in 2 or 3 months. So we have to be patient. So I had multiple work trips again that particular year. And I would go into ketosis, but in all honesty, there was no consistency. You know that 50-gram carbs that they talk about? Stay there. Because it's critical. You would maintain your weight and you'd figure out, how come you're not dropping. But then there's like sort of like certain places you get away eating certain carbs, and you realize that you're actually not in ketosis. And what I did was I was able to maintain the consistency, but I still wasn't losing weight, and I wanted to go into fully fledged ketosis. And that happened as I've come back from South Africa this year, where I cut out carbs 100%, or just good carbs 100%. And as of yesterday, I weigh 182 pounds. I am no longer insulin resistant. I've reversed, having 4 grandparents that are diabetic, I show no signs of diabetes. So I've reversed it. There's no such thing as it's genetic. That's crap. Excuse my French, but you could basically change that. I work out. I've gotten back into road running because I used to run marathons. And keep in mind, most of the weight that I actually lost this year was actually during winter, when your metabolism is at minimum because you cannot do activity outside. And now people ask me, are you still on this diet? No, it's not a diet, it's a way of life. It's an absolute way of life.